And Brandon, now to get into the fun topic, the topic that I've been excited about for you mainly, because you are not just a fan of Bears like everyone else, all you other schmoes here at MVP. I call you guys schmoes because I'm Skull. I'm the only Viking fan in the room.
You should be really upset about this past weekend.
We didn't lose.
No, well, you didn't win.
I know, but we didn't lose. We didn't lose. Participation trophy. But we're talking Patrick Mahomes, your second team, the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a guy that's been lighting it up the past 2 games. I mean, he had, 6 touchdowns in week 1, 4 touchdowns this past week.
Flip that.
Over
6 week 2, 4 week 1.
I'm reading, 6 this week, 4 that week. ESPN, the side note that I hate that they do with their staff, or their stats, is they put the first week on the bottom, second week on top. No, you don't do it that way. You start week 1, you put week 2 underneath, week 3 underneath that. I read top to bottom, not bottom to top. Where am I? Next, am I going to start reading right to left? No, that's not how I read. So I was reading it top to bottom. You're right. 6 touchdowns this past week, 4 the week before. I'm just going to ask you this plain and simple and just get to the point. With what we've seen with Patrick Mahomes through the first 2 weeks, should we buy in on the Patrick Mahomes hype?
Yeah, there's no reason why you shouldn't buy into it. I mean, the guy through his first 2 games that he's actually been the for sure starter as opposed to the game last year against Denver where Alex Smith was still the quarterback and he just came in for that final week. Yeah, I mean, he's been outstanding. Through 2 weeks, he has a quarterback rating of 143.3. He has 10 TDs. He has no interceptions. He has close to 600 yards passing through his first 2 games. This kid is good, and he's finding everybody in the offense. People were worried from a fantasy perspective about Travis Kelce week 1 because he only had 1 catch for 6 yards. Yeah, and then week 2, he has 109 yards and 2 TDs. And the guy who lit it up in week 1 was Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill still has a good week 2, but Travis Kelce seemed to be the focal point against the Steelers. This guy is finding everybody. He's bringing everyone into the mix, and I think that's what's really important as well, is not just are his numbers looking good, but he's spreading the football around, and he's not turning the ball over. That's the biggest thing so far, Ricky. That's why the Kansas City Chiefs are 2-0 to start the season. They're not turning the football over. Why is that important? Their defense is terrible. The Kansas City Chiefs defense from a couple of years ago when it had Marcus Peters and that defense was pretty much unstoppable, they now can't stop anybody. They're pretty darn awful. I mean, the Chiefs offense took them up 21-0 in the first quarter, just to then see them by the end of the first quarter be tied 21-21.
I'm on the other side of you on this one.
Ooh, let's hear why.
The reason why I'm on the other side of this one is...
You on the bring back Alex Smith train?
No, I'm not on that train, but I'm on the train of I've read this book before.
Yeah?
I have.
What book was it?
2 years ago, we were having this conversation about a different quarterback. Do you want to know who I'm going to say? Do you have an idea of who I'm going to say?
Nope.
Dak Prescott. We were asking the same exact question. Should we buy into the hype of Dak Prescott? How good is Dak Prescott in the Dallas Cowboys?
This is different.
No, well,
this is different.
I'm going to say it's not, though.
I'm going to say it is.
Why?
Because Dak was more of the running quarterback. Yes.
To me,
yes.
Here's the thing.
Dak would rather run first than pass it.
I'm not debating
Whereas Mahomes is going to pass it then run first. So there's a huge difference.
No. I'm not debating the type of quarterback.
Yes.
I am debating the situation we are in.
Okay.
We were talking in that season. We even, screw it. I'm going to look it up because I know we do. I know that we had one 2 years ago where I feel like, and as I was typing this question into the email to send it to you, I was like, I thought we've talked about this exact question with Dak Prescott. So a year ago, this was last season. Is it too soon to jump on the Dak Prescott bandwagon? There it is. 2 years ago, Dak Prescott, all hype or the real deal? And for me, I said the same thing then that I'm going to say right now about Patrick Mahomes. Yes, Patrick Mahomes has looked good. Can the Chiefs probably make the playoffs this year because of him? Yes, they can. Will he probably look good most of this season? Yes, he will. But this is not going to be a barometer for what Patrick Mahomes is like his entire career. Now, am I saying that Patrick Mahomes is going to be a bust? No, I am not. But what I am saying is I have seen this story before. We were all over Dak Prescott. We were all over how great the Cowboys are. What were they like in 2017? I know people are going to say, Ricky, but he lost Zeke for 6 games and this and that. Even when they had Zeke, they weren't the same team. They weren't world beaters like they seemed to be in 2016. And when you look at it, to me, it comes down to 2 simple things. First off, the easy one. Teams just don't have film on Patrick Mahomes. They don't know what to expect from Patrick Mahomes. No one expected him to step into this. Now, does this Chief offense fit Patrick Mahomes a lot? Yes, it does, because it plays into some of the strengths that he showed at Texas Tech. There's a reason why the Chiefs went up and got him. They felt like he could fit the system. But one, teams aren't going to have a lot of film on Patrick Mahomes, especially earlier in the year. Number 2, the Chiefs coming into this season had the 19th toughest, tied with the Eagles, 19th toughest strength of schedule at a 492. The Cowboys, when Dak Prescott was coming into the league, they had the 27th toughest schedule at 465. And I know there's a differential of 0.3, like 0.30 in there. Yes, the Cowboys had a little bit of an easier schedule. But the thing, and I'm not saying this to take away from Patrick Mahomes, I'm saying it to kind of bring down so we're not in the clouds all of a sudden. The Chargers, yes, we thought we're going to be a good team. I had them in the playoffs. They're a team coming into this year riddled with injuries, especially in that cornerback area. And then we just talked about how dysfunctional Pittsburgh has been, especially after they had that tie with the Browns. So, yet again, I want to give all the credit for Patrick Mahomes. You got to go out there and play the game. You got to go out there without his ability. You just don't fall out of, unless you're like, I don't know, Peyton Manning on the opening weekend of a game. You don't just fall out of bed and go, I think I'm going to throw for 6 touchdowns today. Like, you got to put in some work in order to do that. You got to have the skill to do that. You got to do your homework in order to put yourself in that position. But I want to pump the brakes a little bit because I've seen this story before. And for Dak Prescott, yet again, the only thing that could probably help Patrick Mahomes compared to Dak Prescott is I like the situation better in Kansas City than I do with Dak Prescott with the Cowboys, because I'll take Andy Reid and that front office in KC way before I would take the ginger in Dallas and old crazy Jerry in the press box.
Through his first 2 games in 2016, Dak Prescott had an average per completion yards, 5 yards per completion in game 1 against the Giants. Game 2 on the road at Washington, 9.7 yards per completion. For Patrick Mahomes to start the season, 9.5 yards per completion against the Chargers, 11.6 yards per completion on the road at Pittsburgh. Let's also remember that Patrick Mahomes has started his first 2 games on the road against the Chargers, against Pittsburgh. He's been sacked only 2 times through 2 games. He's getting rid of the ball quickly. He's making quick decisions. His offensive line is certainly helping him. He has more weapons than Dak Prescott did. But at the same time, though, he's done more. Patrick Mahomes has done more in his first 2 games than Dak Prescott did through his first 2 games. And I think, while I do like Dak Prescott, I think that Patrick Mahomes, through 2 games, there's no way that you could be someone who goes, yeah, I'm really skeptical. How could anyone say that they're skeptical through 2 games of a rookie in the NFL who puts up those numbers? Yes. Is he going to put those numbers up every week? No. And the first sign of, oh, this might be a bad game. Yes. Welcome to a rookie in the NFL. They have bad games. Guess what? Non-rookies have bad games. So his first interception, people shouldn't go, oh, well, here we go. You know, that's not going to happen. You gave up Alex Smith for a reason. Because you knew it was time to get Patrick Mahomes, bring him in, and put him in as your starting quarterback. You knew it was time for him to be your starter. And he's showing it is. It is time for him to be the starter with Kansas City. And he's doing a great job. And I don't want that to be overshadowed because, well, I've seen this before, or we've seen that before, but guess what? He's not what that was before. He's got a completely different team. He's got more weapons offensively. He's got a great running game. He's got good wide receivers, a great tight end. Dallas at that point had Ezekiel Elliott, right, as their running back, Dak Prescott, Des Bryant, Jason Witten towards the end of his career. They didn't have just gobs and gobs and gobs of talent.
Bryant, I think, yet again, I'm going to say his name again because, yep, exactly. Des Bryant was not the... Yeah, he had 97 targets. He had the second most targets on the team. Yet again, was not the leading receiver for that Cowboy team. Do you know who it was?
No.
Cole Beasley. It's Dak's boy. It's Dak's boy, Cole Beasley. Cutting over the middle. I'm going to hit Cole. Cole's going to run for it. But, yeah, I get what you're saying.
What I'm trying to say is that, I mean,
Jason Witten.
But you also... Your weapons with Patrick Mahomes are far more greater than what they had in Dallas at that time, too. So Patrick Mahomes is he's certainly in a better situation, but he's also, I think, doing more with what he's got. I mean, some of his throws are just absolutely impressive. He's finding his guys quickly. He's making great throws over the middle. His wide receivers are running some good routes for him as well, but he's putting in some really good throws to his guys. I don't want to knock this kid because he has been really, really good to start the year for Kansas City. And again, I think doing that on the road is really impressive. Now he has a home game this week, San Francisco, a good team who tried to blow one to the Lions this past weekend. So we'll see what San Fran is able to do. But if Matt Stafford was able to throw for 347 yards and 3 TDs against that defense, I think Patrick Mahomes will be able to do that as well. And Matt Stafford, I think, is a good quarterback on a team that's kind of struggling, not a great offensive line. Those aren't necessarily things going on right now for this Chiefs team. They're 2-0. They're feeling good. And you know what Patrick Mahomes seems to have is a lot of confidence. And they interviewed him quickly. I think it was Deion Sanders on NFL Prime after the games are all over on Sunday.
Yeah.
The guy's just got some swagger about him. He's confident. He feels good. That is going to take you a long ways. For a young rookie who's starting for the first time where it's him. There's no one. I mean, there's no one after
Brandon,
this is you.
Technically, he's not a rookie, but I get what you mean. It's his first season starting in the NFL. He only had one game last year.
I said rookie, but it feels like he's a rookie.
I would count him as a rookie. I'm just being an asshole.
Yeah, well, they might be too. You usually are. But I think that you cannot look at this and say this is all a fluke. It's not a fluke.
And I'm not saying I agree with you, actually, where I like the situation. Like, for me, coming in, when I say buying the hype and I'm on the other side with you with that, it's a completely different... If you would have asked me in 2016 what I thought about Dak Prescott and right now what I think about Patrick Mahomes, they're completely two different answers. Where for me with Dak Prescott, it was, why the hell are we thinking this guy's going to be the next Tom Brady? He ain't. This team is not going to be what they are the next year with a tougher schedule. Yes, Dak it's not like he's garbage and can't start, but I never bought into Dak being that guy to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, be a guy that, hey, put it on me when the game's on the line, I'm going to go ahead and win the game. And the thing that is important to note is you were talking about the impressive thing with Patrick Mahomes is that he hasn't turned over the football. We were saying the same thing about Dak Prescott.
And he only
threw four that first
season.
year. If I had to hear one more time throughout that season, like, Dak Prescott hasn't thrown an interception. Oh my God, he hasn't thrown an interception. I was going to just blow a gasket that year.
But what was wrong with that?
But the thing we saw, what I'm saying is what we saw the next year, and I know it's not just the one player. This isn't basketball. Basketball, LeBron James can go out there, and you got a freaking 70% chance to even higher to win that game. Football, not one player can win you a game. It is a more team sport than like basketball. But what we saw the next year with Dak Prescott with a harder schedule and more film for people to study, 13 picks. Now, the flip side I'm going to say is when I say not buy the hype, I'm saying pump the brakes to bring everyone out of the clouds. Because right now I feel like everyone is really excited, and you should be. He's been playing good. But let's be a little bit realistic. Is Patrick Mahomes going to be good? I think so. But he's in a better situation than Dak is in. Like I said, I would take Andy Reid way before I would take the ginger in Dallas. And the thing that I like better with KC, that what we're seeing now, because with Dak Prescott, we have the hindsight's 2020, and we're already in year 3 of Dak Prescott, and people aren't happy how Jason Garrett's running that offense. I don't see in 3 years people being upset with how Andy Reid runs his offense, except for time management. But for Andy Reid, there's 2 things with Andy Reid. He's always going to mismanage the clock in a playoff game, and he's always going to forget that he has a running back late in the game. That's 2 things you'll know about Andy Reid. But I do like Mahomes' situation, and I do think that he has more of an it factor than a Dak Prescott did. But the thing that I am looking at is, like you mentioned too, this is his first year as a starter. I am taking this season, and I am not going to judge Mahomes on it. I'm going to wait till next year, because the second year is where it's like, all right, you had a really good season. Now what can you do with, if they win a lot of games, if they make the playoffs and go far in the playoffs, you're going to have a harder schedule. Teams are going to have more film on you so they can be more familiar with you, especially those divisional teams, because those divisional teams would have seen you twice a year last year, and the Chargers being one of them, the Chargers are going to see him again. And I wouldn't be surprised with the Chargers, even if they gain some guys back and are some healthy. That's a big thing with the Chargers. Like I said, that secondary was decimated with injuries in the offseason to where I wasn't sure. I almost had them out of my playoffs after their second cornerback went down in the offseason. Next year, I'm going to grade them. However, there is something to be said with Patrick Mahomes where I do like the swagger. I do like the confidence. There are some of those throws where it's like, wow, I don't know how he made that throw. And I don't know if this is an overreaction on the other side, but like we live here in Chicago, there are already people from different fan bases like the Bears who we got it in your Bears comment section for your video that were like, man, Ryan Pace, he should have went with that Patrick Mahomes, not Mitch Trubisky, because Mitch, in a similar, I'm going to say a similar offense, because Matt Nagy brings what he did with KC over to the Bears. Mahomes and Trubisky look like 2 different quarterbacks through the first 2 games. And one was the second overall pick. The other one was like, what, mid-teens, I think Mahomes was. He wasn't a top 10 pick. I think he was like 15, if I'm mistaken. So there is even that where he's making other fan bases already second guess their decision from that same draft.
One thing I also want to point out, too, is that look at the two colleges that they went to. When Dak Prescott, when he was coming out of college, he went to school at Mississippi State. Mississippi State, you have this great dual threat quarterback. He's going to do both of these things, but he's a really good runner. Good passer, but he's a great runner. Patrick Mahomes coming from the we only throw it here, Texas Tech.
And we don't play defense.
Can we run? No. We're throwing again. So I think that probably has something to do with it.
Say it with me, Brandon. Air raid. Say it with me. That's Texas Tech.
I think that has something to do with it. Coming out, Dak Prescott was more comfortable in being able to do that type of thing, whereas Patrick Mahomes. So hold on really quickly, but is where with Prescott comfortable being able to do both. So when he was being called on to be more of a passer, it wasn't comfortable for him. Patrick Mahomes. We just need you to pass.
Exactly.
Okay, I can do that.
One of Dak Prescott's biggest criticisms his first year, and I always said it, was they never throw the ball down the field. It's always slants and mids, slants and mids, slants and mids. It's like, take a deep shot every once in a while. But like you said, probably wasn't used to that coming out of Mississippi State.
And we saw that with Patrick Mahomes, and to actually also go with the point of the Bears as well. With Mahomes, we saw it in preseason. He was throwing out bombs 75-yarders already then. He's
like
not
that game against the Falcons.
Yeah, exactly. He's not afraid to throw the ball down the field, and he's good at it. Now, you throw in the Bears thing, too, of what people are saying about, well, this is not good. It's not going to work. This is now just 2 games in where Mitch Trubisky, who had dealt with a completely different group of offensive guys who I guess weren't so offensive because not much happened offensively for Chicago.
Are you talking this year or last year?
Last year.
Okay.
Nothing was going on. Nothing. Yeah. Don't throw the ball down the field. Don't throw the ball.
14 pass attempts.
And you're the quarterback. Oh, so I shouldn't throw? No, we'd rather have you run. Now, this year, it's 2 games in, and for anyone to say, well, this is not going to work, I don't see how it's going to happen. That makes no sense. You've got to give this some time. How you said that this year for Mahomes, you're not even going to hold it against him, count it against him, anything like that. To just give the little Bears plug, no one should be counting the season against Mitch Trubisky either. Now, they'll say, Brandon, that's 2 years where we couldn't count it against Trubisky. Yeah, well, it was a completely different system last year. It's a new system this year. So I don't want to say that we're going more towards an Alex Smith type of thing with Trubisky, but one of these years he'll figure it out. All I'm saying is that Nagy had something going right with Alex Smith and that offense over there in Kansas City. That's why Alex Smith was able to help. Andy Reid was a huge part of it, but Matt Nagy over there was also a big piece too to help revitalize a career there with Alex Smith. He can kickstart the career for Mitch Trubisky. I definitely know he can, but that's kind of the back and forth here. Patrick Mahomes is a guy who's confident be able to throw it down the field. Trubisky will get there.
And I was mistaken. Mahomes was the 10th pick, so he was a top 10 pick also. But the Chiefs, I believe, traded up with Houston to get him at number 10. Kind of my last thought with this is just with Mahomes, when I say I'm not really saying don't buy the hype. I'm just saying let's put our foot on the brake a little bit. Let's break the expectations, because right now through 2 games, it's easy to get really high on a guy. And of course, I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, which I know I do. But really, it's going to be, this is how I see it with Patrick Mahomes. He's going to have a phenomenal season this year. Phenomenal. Kind of like Dak Prescott with the Cowboys. Next year, he will begin to face some adversities in the regular season. And at that point, we will see how he handles it. That's the big thing. Once you get dealt the adversity, how do you handle it? Now, the other thing, like I've said before, and I'm going to say it again, Patrick Mahomes has a way better support system than like a Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott lost Jason Witten, lost Des Bryant. Jason Garrett doesn't know how to run that offense, where in KC, they bring in Sammy. I know you don't like Sammy Watkins, but they bring in Sammy Watkins to be a weapon for him. He's got Travis Kelce out there. He's got a guy in Tyreek Hill where it's basically, here you go, here's a handoff. Oh, I passed it? I guess my underhanded lateral is a pass nowadays. That's a joke for you, Mark, 'cause I know you would have made that joke. But you hand it to Tyreek Hill, and zoom, he's gone and in the end zone. And then you got Kareem Hunt also in that backfield. So, I mean, there's a lot of weapons for Mahomes to work with. I'm not saying that that's the main reason why he's doing what he's doing. There's some throws where it's like, holy crap, I don't know how he made that throw. But I want to ask you this question to end it, and this has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
But I want to ask it anyways. One guy that, when you were talking about Mahomes, a guy who can sling it down the field, came from more of a offense where he was asked to throw it and was throwing some bombs. Does this success with Patrick Mahomes take the situation, and I know it's hard, take the situation out of it because I know it might be a worse situation than the Chiefs. Does this have any foreshadowing to what we could see next year from Josh Allen? Next year, not this year, next year from Josh Allen. Because Josh Allen, another guy where one of the big things we talked about coming into the draft was, damn, this guy can sling it. And what, in the combine threw a 70-yard pass during his quarterback drills, or a 70-yard bomb during his quarterback drills?
Yeah, I think that this is, it could be similar. I mean, it could certainly be similar, but if Larry Fitzgerald is injured, he won't have anyone to throw it to.
Well, I mean, you're thinking Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, Buffalo. Buffalo, not Cardinals.
Allen, Rosen.
Two Joshes.
Two teams that suck ass.
Calvin Benjamin.
Let's see.
Take out Fitzgerald, put in Benjamin.
But so that was my thought on Josh Rosen though. I think that with Josh Allen, it's a wait and see.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a wait and see. I think that we have seen some good things. I mean, he's had some good throws in the game against the Chargers where he showed off his big arm.
Yeah.
So I think that the problem is that because Buffalo is just piss poor. They are. Look at them. They're horrible. They're horrible. They were less horrible this past week, but if you're a Buffalo fan, I mean, you want to be part of Bill's Mafia just to concuss yourself so you don't have to watch the games. I mean, it's that bad.
Oh,
so
man.
I just, until they actually, again, another team where they need to be able to get him some weapons. Kelvin Benjamin and Zay Jones and Charles Clay don't scream woo inside of me. So
remember when Charles Clay was actually something in fantasy?
Yes.
And now he's not?
Yes. Remember when Kelvin Benjamin was something in fantasy and now he's not?
Well, he went after Cam Newton and then Cam told him to shut up. That's basically what happened.
But there needs to be Josh Allen, not Rosen, needs to be given some opportunities in terms of, hey, we'll get you some guys. And that's going to be their next step, which is why you talk about next year. Hopefully in the offseason, Buffalo can get a wide receiver, draft a wide receiver, get him some more weapons, make sure the offensive line is good and set, and giving him all the time that he needs to be able to throw, because he did have a great arm in college when he was able to throw. And this past week, I mean, just seeing some of the throws that he had, because they were actually able to throw it this week and he started, he had some pretty good throws. I mean, some deep balls that were accurate too. They weren't, oh, he really has a good arm, but he missed him by 10 yards. They were on point. So that's something for the Buffalo franchise to look forward to. But until that there's anyone to help him out, he nowhere near has the situation that Mahomes has, where you have a tight end like Kelce. You have
Reek. You've got
right now.
Sammy Watkins,
right now, Buffalo would say, "Sammy, do you want to come back? You can be the starter." I mean, that's kind of where it is. So I think that Allen has promise, but Mahomes right now, he's the guy, and he's showing out that promise. And my final comment is, week 1, his completion percentage was 55.6%. Mahomes, that's what I'm talking about. 55.6%. Week 2, he upped it all the way to 82.1%. Again, that's 2 weeks, bettering your statistics in terms of your efficiency, and still no interceptions.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. What do you think about Patrick Mahomes? Are you buying the hype, not buying the hype? You on the wait and see method like I am? Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.